The following program contains shocking quotes from America's founding fathers. If you suffer from time spent in public schools, Randall may not be right for you. Check with your guidance counselor.
Speaking the truth when others hold their tongues. Wrestling for justice with left-wingers and crocodiles. Resisting the temptation to keep the peace at any price. The only talk show host who writes his own theme music, Randall Terry.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to a special edition of Randall Terry, the voice of resistance. I just returned from Iowa. Campaigning, interviewing, having a grand time with homeschoolers. I have an exclusive interview coming up with presidential candidate Rick Santorum and from Iowa Assemblywoman Kim Pearson. You are not going to believe your ears. Today's program brought to you in part by the Republican National Committee, desperately in search of their own Barack Obama, and by the Obama administration, relaxing with a front row seat as the Republican cannibal feast begins. Don't go away, I've got a quick word from my good friend, Joey the Hammer.
I got a letter yesterday from my sister complaining about the price of food. I did a little research and found out that the price of wheat is at an all-time high. The price of corn, an all-time high. The price of beef is at an all-time high. And there are people on the outside that are having trouble actually buying groceries. I only have one suggestion for you. Commit some petty crime and come here and join me, because we're going to eat well no matter what, and the chumps in the free world, they're going to pay for our meals.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Republican Field 2012, a parade of mediocrity. Hey, it's me, Randall. It's good to be back on the air, broadcasting with really great news analysis in front of a fake Capitol. Because good analysis in front of a fake Capitol is way better than bad analysis in front of the real thing. We're just outside of Washington, D.C., in our new studio, where we are constructing the facility. So yes, I'm a slave for a few days to a green screen. But the content of the program, ladies and gentlemen, will remain top-notch. I beg your prayers for those of you who follow our work. Ask God's grace and help with us as we go through these growing pains. All right, on to Iowa. As you know, the infighting has begun. I like to call it cannibalism. It's where the Republicans will now bite and devour one another while Obama sits back and laughs. Yes, let's see which scalded, wounded Republican candidate emerges out of Iowa and then New Hampshire. Meanwhile, Obama raises more money than all of the angelic hosts combined. In the meantime, we will cover this program. We will do interviews. We will run clips. And coming up in a moment, an exclusive interview with Rick Santorum. Rick and I were both at the homeschool convention in Des Moines, Iowa recently. I had the privilege of interviewing Senator Santorum, and we will run that interview over the next 3 days. Before I go to that interview, however, yours truly, as a candidate in the Democratic primary, has also been making some news. And since this is a news program and I want you to see what is going on the ground in Iowa, I'd like to play for you the 1-minute commercial that we began running in Iowa about 10 days ago. Now, please understand, in my opinion, this is what a political ad should look like. Please note, I do not mince any words. I do not play any games. I do not use platitudes. We talk about the issues in as succinct and a clear and powerful manner as possible, with the hope of jarring voters into reality, at least waking them up from their political coma. So, let's play the ad that is creating a good bit of stir in Iowa. Andrew? Barack Hussein Obama is the worst president in our history. He's at war with our founding principles of life and liberty. His bailout of Wall Street and socialist agenda have enslaved our children to debt, to China. His addiction to Arab oil funds Islamic terrorists while he leaves billions of barrels untouched in Anwar. He chose a government shutdown, paid our soldiers late, rather than defund Planned Parenthood. He cast aside the Defense of Marriage Act and is guilty of the slaughter of unborn babies, defying the commandments of God. Who will stop this madman? The establishment? John Boehner? Mitt Romney? I'm asking your vote in the Iowa caucus against Obama. I can defeat him here if you put principle ahead of party, life and liberty ahead of comfort and slavery. I'm Randall Terry, and I approve this message. Well, I hope that you enjoyed that commercial. It is getting some good press around the country, and believe me, we've got a lot more to come. All right, I'm going to take a quick break, and we will come back with our interview with Rick Santorum, but let me say this before we go. You people who are excited about Mitt Romney, either you're so frantic to get rid of Obama that you're willing to embrace an Obama with white skin, or you really don't believe in life and liberty under God. Mitt Romney as a president would be an unmitigated disaster. Oh, but Randall, you might say, he'd be the lesser of two evils. I'll grant that. Guess what? The lesser of two evils is still evil. Remember that. The lesser of two evils is still evil. And as long as we reach for mediocrity, we're going to get it. I'll leave you with this phrase, and then we'll come back with our Rick Santorum interview. When apathy reigns, the mediocre rise as heroes, and heroes stand condemned as fanatics. I would submit to you that anyone who loves Mitt Romney is the victim of apathy, and they are clinging to mediocrity. We'll be right back with Rick Santorum.
People who say they're atheists are really stupid. If they live their life by that principle, they leave no room for error.
Moments with Moses. If you spurn my statutes, and your soul abhors my ordinances, so that you will not do all my commandments, but break my covenant, your strength shall be spent in vain, for your land shall not yield its increase, and the trees of the land shall not yield their fruit.
Welcome back to the program, friend. And now, part one of our three-part interview with Senator Rick Santorum, candidate for president in the Republican primary. I'm standing with Senator Rick Santorum inside of the homeschool convention here in Iowa. Now, he's running for the presidency. You might have heard, we're going to forgive him for that. He's running as a Republican, I'm running as a Democrat. All kidding aside, congratulations on this straw poll in New Hampshire.
Well, thank you. No, we've actually won several straw polls, one in most recent in New Hampshire, and right after the debate in South Carolina, the next night there was a straw poll done at the Republican dinner. We had about 700 people there, and we ended up with close to 40% of the vote. Next highest was, I think, 15. So when people have had an opportunity to hear the candidates, to measure them, and then make a decision, we do very, very well. So we're just going to keep working hard, plugging away. We're not the big money candidate. We're not the favorites.
That's the next question. What's your money like?
Well, we're raising enough money to keep the payroll paid and keep our effort going, and that's all we're worried about right now. Is just we're working hard. This is a grassroots, bottom-up effort. We're not going to be, as I said, we're not going to be the favorite of the political class in Washington and New York, and therefore, we're not going to raise the $40 million or $50 million or $100 million, but we're going to have enough money to get our message out, and I'm very excited about the kind of grassroots support we're getting here and across the country.
Have you asked Governor Huckabee for his support?
I have talked to Mike and said, I'd like to talk to him. He said at this point he's going to hold off and sort of wait. And I don't blame him. His endorsement will be obviously very, very important, and I'm sure he's going to look at the strategic time where he thinks he can make a difference in elevating the right guy and then weigh in. And I hope at some point that's me.
How many states do you have paid staff on the ground right now?
Really just 3 at this point. We have 3 people, not 3 people. We have several people here, several people in New Hampshire. We have a part-time person helping us in South Carolina. But for us, it's
a start.
You got to stay one step. You got to one step at a time. We have a good, robust staff here in New Hampshire, and that's really where we're focusing our attention. And we spent a lot of time in South Carolina too, and we're actually doing very, very well down there. But organizationally, it's all volunteer pretty much.
So right now, you're taking the oxygen out of the room, not Sarah Palin.
Well, certainly, hopefully at this conference I am. I'm a homeschooling dad. Karen and I have homeschooled for 14 years, and it's this is a conference where we have a lot in common. Karen, wrote a book because of her homeschool experience. She felt like she needed to have a way to help educate our kids and teach them manners. That's obviously one of the things that homeschooling parents care a lot about is the character of their children and inculcating those values. And so we felt
children are born barbarians. You need to assimilate them into culture.
That's probably that's not an unreasonable thing to say. And
your children aren't barbarians. Mine.
Well, maybe born so. Anyway, for me this is a great. To me, this is sort of the future of education, which is, parents heavily involved, customized curriculum, technology. I mean, this is where education is going to go in the future, and where public education needs to go. It has to be a much more dynamic process. It has to be a much more customized process. It has to integrate parents and all of the information that's out there. And that's why I've been a great supporter and promoter of homeschooling, and why we homeschool ourselves.
If you were president of the United States, would you eliminate the Federal Department of Education?
What I would do, and I've said this from the very beginning, what I would do is get the federal government increasingly out of the education business and put it back in the role of where it belongs, which is in the parents and the local communities. And so that would be my process. I don't want to go out and make proclamations. We're gonna scale back the federal involvement in education and make sure that parents are in control of what education their children receive.
Thank you, Senator Santorum. In our next episode, we'll have part 2 and then part 3 of our interview with Rick Santorum. I'm sure many of you were happy to find out that he's a homeschool dad. I was. I was also disappointed that he would not flat out say that the Department of Education, started under Jimmy Carter, a massive bloated bureaucracy, should not be simply done away with. But he's the candidate, and my job as the host is simply to interview him and let him tell us what he believes. When I come back from this break, you pro-life and Tea Party activists, you are in for a rude awakening about what is happening inside of the Republican Party and with so-called pro-life groups. An exclusive interview with Mrs. Kim Pearson, who is a freshman member of the Iowa House of Representatives. She tells her story about treachery from the Republican Party and from the pro-life movement in Iowa. Don't go away.
And your platform will be no property taxes, no IRS, no Social Security, no abortion, and no homosexuals. Good luck with that, buddy.
And your camera tactics don't scare me.
The first duty of a university is to teach wisdom, not trade, character, not technicalities. Sir Winston Churchill. Hello, friend. I'm here at a huge homeschool convention in Des Moines, Iowa. I have the delight, the privilege, the pleasure of interviewing Kim Pearson, who is a freshman House member for the Iowa House in District 42.
That's right.
Look at me, use my memory, Mommy. I'm so good. All right. This is a really critical interview because Kim took a thrashing as a Republican from guess who? The Republicans and pro-lifers. Tell me your story.
That's right. Well, I think it all started when I got to the Iowa House, and I was frustrated with Republicans who told me that they were pro-life, but then they wouldn't do anything about it. So
Well, they did something. They raised money off the issue.
Exactly.
And votes.
And so we got here. We were in the majority in the House, which is 60 members, and I found out that they were not going to put forth a personhood bill. That instead, they wanted to.
No, for the sake of the viewer, tell it what a personhood bill is.
A personhood bill is basically saying a baby is a person and has all the rights that someone that has been born has. So
A novel thought. A person is a person.
exactly, no matter how small.
All right.
So it's a 14th Amendment idea, life and liberty. So I said that I was going to put forth this personhood bill, and leadership was not pleased, to say the least. And it has been a rocky 5 months. And we got.
All right, so the Republican leadership, who says they're pro-life, runs on pro-life.
Yes.
You said, I want to put in a personhood bill, and we're the majority, oh, by the way.
Yes.
And they were cheering you on, saying, you're our gal, go, go, go.
No.
So tell us how it really went.
It was actually pretty brutal because all they really wanted to do was to stop, they said, one doctor from coming in to Iowa from Council Bluffs. So they decided that they would have a 20...
Oh, what's his name who's up in Germantown?
Well, I don't know.
Carhart?
Carhart.
Yeah, he just came down to Germantown, Maryland.
Right.
He's a demon-possessed, baby-killing monster.
Absolutely. So what they said was their bill had the premise that life at conception, we believe in that, and this is in the bill, but you can kill babies until they feel pain. And so they wanted to have a value of life when they could feel pain.
So this is a pro-choice bill.
It was absolutely, I think, horrendous and not pro-choice. So I told them there was no way I would vote for that type of bill, and I went forward with the personhood bill. And
bucked the speaker.
Yes, we got into a situation where I forced a vote against House leadership.
The leadership doesn't take kindly to that. They frown on that type of thing.
He voted against me, as did several members of
I want to talk about this, oh, we're pro-life. We've seen this type of treachery in the Republican Party as long as I can remember. But you also had pro-life groups coming against you.
Yes. They thought that I should get behind their 20-week fetal pain bill. And they didn't understand why I could not do that.
Well, why couldn't they do both? What is the big problem? Let's do the one and do them both. I mean, come on. It's like if you're negotiating for hostages on a plane, go up and get the little old ladies and the children first, and then come back and get the rest.
Yes, that's what we tried, and they rejected that.
All right, who was it that was opposing you?
Which groups?
Yeah.
The Republican establishment, for sure.
I need the pro-life names, so-called.
Well,
was it Iowans for Life?
There were so many. I'm sorry. I mean, they've changed.
I will get the names.
Have to get the names.
I'll get the names and I'll give them to you because.
I can't even list them all off for you that were against.
I mean, there were multiple so-called pro-life groups.
Mm-hmm.
All right, I'm going to take a quick break. I'm going to ask Miss Kim to stay with us, and we'll have her again on tomorrow's program, because you need to understand that we're losing the country because we, the voters, don't elect people like her, but instead we elect people like John Boehner, who say that they're pro-life, and when push comes to shove, they cave in like a house of cards and they bow before the baby killers and surrender the babies for their own agenda. Kim, thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you. Thanks.
Well, there you have it. Pro-lifers, let the full weight, the sheer horror of that sink into your soul. Her greatest opposition did not come from the child-killing movement. It came from Republican officials who say that they're pro-life, and worse yet, from pro-life groups. In the next couple of days, we interview a pro-life activist who was on the ground in that fight in Iowa who names names. So if you are from Iowa, we'll let you know exactly who it was that betrayed the babies and opposed Mrs. Pearson. I'm going to take a quick break. When we come back, a word from one of our founding fathers and a challenge to you. Because he cleaves to me in love, I will deliver him. I will protect him because he knows my name. When he calls to me, I will answer him. I will be with him in trouble and will rescue him and honor him. With long life, I will satisfy him and show him my salvation. Governor Morris said, there must be religion. When that ligament is torn, society is disjointed and its members perish. Vicious and unreligious rulers, placed in a situation where they can exercise authority for their own profits, will betray their trust. They take bribes. They sell laws. They sell honor in office. They sell their consciences. They sell their country. The most important of all lessons in the announcement of ruin to any state that rejects the precepts of religion. Therefore, in the upcoming election, withhold your vote from any who would be hostile to basic religious principles. What are those basic religious principles? Well, first of all, there are many people in America that would simply howl, saying, "What? Vote based on religion?" Yes. Because when he uses that word religion, what he's talking about are religious principles vis-a-vis the laws of God, the Ten Commandments, the Judeo-Christian heritage upon which we base our principles of life and liberty and the ownership of private property. If somebody like Mitt Romney signs a law that allows people to co-pay for $50 in the state of Massachusetts and then kill their baby with taxpayer money, that man is hostile to the commandments of God. He also made a deal with the homosexuals that when the Massachusetts Supreme Court mandated that the Massachusetts legislature create so-called homosexual marriage out of thin air, rather than work to impeach the judges, he groveled at their feet, betrayed the laws of God, and sided with the militant homosexuals. It's time, friends, that we throw off the shackles of political correctness and of so-called diversity, and we say, by this standard, by the Ten Commandments. Because without the Ten Commandments, frankly, we're in a moral free fall. Anything goes. Have the courage to vote according to Christianity.